Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe because that's the only way I get reimbursed for making this video. Page 1, part number 510054. 510054, it's the headlight switch. We're going to put that back in the box. Check that off the checklist. 510469. What is it? It's a fuse relay. There we go. Fuse relay switch 510469. Back in the box. Crossing it off. All right, next on the list. 500042. 5 3 zeros and a 42. Here it is right here. This is the dimmer switch. It's going back in the box. Crossing it off. Right here. Ignition switch. 510053, and that's what it looks like. Let's cross that out. 500919. Here we go. 500919 is the practice terminal crimping set. That's what it looks like. Back in the box. Crossing it out. 510472. Right here. This is G on page 3. This is the main harness kit. Basically, this is probably the heart of the kit right here. If you've read the instructions so far up to this point, before you even open up the box, print it from the internet. The next bag is bag H, part number 510461. The instrument cluster harness kit. This is what it looks like. Back in the box. So that's H on here, the gauge cluster harness. It's the third one down. Gauge connections for aftermarket factory gauges for which we will be integrating into this. So bag J 510466. Engine harness kit, engine wiring kit. Right here, this is what it looks like. It will be going in this region where the engine lies. Who'd have thunk? Let's look at J real quick on page 3. Engine harness. This harness contains temperature, oil pressure, tach wiring, ignition system, ECU power, alternator connections. I'm not gonna have an ECU. I might one day. Starter, solenoid connections, and main panel feed connections. Next is 510465. 510465. It's right here. It's the front light wiring kit. If you want to update your headlights, all this wiring is what is required to do fancy lights, but hey, actually let's see what L is on here. L is the second one from the bottom. It's the front light harness, which contains headlight, turn signals, running light, front sight, marker light connections, electric fan relay trigger, ooh, interesting, fog light connections, brake warning light connections, and horn connections. Interesting, because I have an aftermarket horn on there, so we'll see how that connects up. M 510462, right here. This is the rear body wiring kit, so it goes in the rear of the vehicle. M, cross it off before we throw it in the box. Actually, let's read here what M is supposed to do at the bottom. The rear body harness. The harness contains tail light, turn signals, reverse light, running light, third brake light connections, fuel tank sender, ooh, and dome connections. All right, important. Next is bag is Z 510476. Ooh, right here. Ooh, interesting. These are some heavy duty. I already have some of these wires, okay. This is the alternator, the main power connection kit. Ooh. This is all right with a bunch of terminals that we're gonna have to crimp on. Oh yeah. So I already have this, but I might use that. Alternator main powering kit. This harness contains mega fuses, hardware, terminals, and 6-gauge alternator. Charge wire, which we might have. Going back to this part right here. This is the connection to convert my regular alternator into the one wire, but if it don't work, just got to buy a one wire alternator. Next bag is N as in Nancy 510131. Look at this. The washer wiper wiring kit. Say that 3 times. This is what it looks like. It goes behind the radio, I'm assuming. crossing that out because the last one is front side marker connection kit 510473. And this is what it looks like right here. And that's the open box.
This is to help us both out because it is best to read the directions before you open box. Wait a second, how do you read the directions if you don't open box it? Well, you head over to the American Autowire website, which I'm doing, and I'm reading these instructions before I open up that box because it'll be easier to identify all the components once pulling them out of the box if I have a good idea of what's in there before I open it. Let's get started. Here's first page of some important information. Some of this information is not important to me, but it might be to you, so let's read it out right. Number one, this kit should typically be used on a modified 67 to 68 Mustang as opposed to a non-modified Mustang. Number two, so this wiring kit uses the one-wire alternator. I will be using an adapter. I think I'm going to run into a few issues because it does say here that no stock alternators are supported, but I will be using a stock style alternator because it's a brand new unit, and why waste it? Spend more money on something if the part's brand spanking new. This kit will not support the use of a factory ammeter. Now, that doesn't apply to me because that ammeter has been taken out. I urge you to read this if it applies to you because it does talk about a maximum of 25 to 60 amps and how new cars are using 100 amps, and I could keep talking, but let's move on. Number 4 talks about how this kit will not support the use of a factory tachometer, and number 5, jumping ahead, also talks about how this kit is not set up with a resistance wire for a standard point type ignition system. Now, I don't know if you're running that original style of distributor, but I'm running an MSD. First page, paragraphs 4 and 5, has a bunch of information talking about 12-volt ignition systems, MSD, aftermarket tachs, and resistance wires. I have hot-wired, or I did hot-wire my vehicle with a relay and a 12-volt system when jury rigged it. It wasn't correct. It wasn't safe. That's why I'm installing this system. But somewhere between these two paragraphs lies the reason why my vehicle wasn't running correctly. Unfortunately, I can't troubleshoot it just by reading these two paragraphs. So until I physically get to these issues and cross that bridge, I won't be able to cover these talking points. Page 2. Guidelines, accessories, and tools. Some people deviate from the information on this page, and yes, I do a little bit. For example, they have the part number for electrical tape. I've opted for the Scotch brand high-quality electrical tape, but they have the part number for the American Autowire crimp tool right there, 2 of them. Some people in forums use generic crimp tools. I've opted for, yes, the more expensive American Autowire crimp tool, but I want the job done correctly, and because of that, they show there on the left-hand side of the page a YouTube video, which once I get to that point, I will be watching that. Page 3, we can use this as an inventory checklist. So we have bags, pages, and sections with a table of contents. The first bag, G, which is the dash harness. This is the main harness in the kit, and it contains heater, feed, and switch, radio, horn, and lamp relay connections. We have the door jamb switch, door courtesy, and rear body harness connections, ignition, lighting, dimmer, brake, turn signal switch, and wiper feed connections, and the neutral, safety, and the backup light switch connections, and the console connections. And the next bag, which is the washer/wiper harness. This harness contains windshield wiper and washer coordinator harness assembly. The next bag, which is bag H, the gauge cluster harness. In this bag, this harness contains gauge connections for aftermarket and factory gauges. The next bag, J, the engine harness. This harness contains temperature, oil pressure, tach, wiring, ignition system, ECU, power alternator connections, starter solenoid connections, and main panel feed connections, which, by the way, I'm going to probably have to look up that MSD to tach aftermarket. We'll get to that when we cross that bridge again. Bag Z, alternator and main power kit. This harness contains mega fuses, hardware, terminal, and 6-gauge alternator charge wire. Keep that in mind because that'll be important for the thing I'm going to say at the end of this page. Bag L, as in Lima, front light harness. This harness contains headlight turn signal, running light, front side mirror light connections, electric fan relay trigger, fog light connections, brake warning light connections, and horn connections. The last bag, M as in Mike, rear body harness. This harness contains tail light, turn signal, reverse light, running light, and third brake light connections, fuel tank sender connections, dome light connections. Also, going back to bag Z, I believe, is in Zulu. It says here on the right side of the page that please read this for helpful installation before going any further. It talks about the fuse installation locations, but it talks about installing the fuses into that fuse box immediately, especially before installing it into the vehicle. Fuse label inside of the fuse box cover, which quite makes it handy. Also, when it comes to the relays, be sure to mount them on the wiper motor support bracket before you install all of the relays to that harness. Now we're moving to page 4 that talks about a bag that carries loose pieces, 510472, whether that's the part number or 9297231. Not not sure which part number they're talking about, it doesn't matter because we're going to individually go over every single part. We have A, which is 56 series double female terminal, 8 pieces. B, 56 series single female terminal, 7 pieces. C, pack connection, 14-way male connector, 1 piece. D is in dog, pack connector, male terminal, 11 pieces. E is an Echo, 56 series times 3 female connector, 1 piece. H, we have a Phillips screw, 3 pieces. J, the same 8x32 locking nut, or H. K is in kilo. Number 10, flat washer, 3 pieces. L is in Lima, male bullet terminal, 3 pieces. M, small rubber sleeve, 3 pieces. N is in Nancy, we have the routing clip, 3 pieces. Okay, and then we have another grommet, which is P, Papa. Q, Queen, another grommet. R is a door jamb switch. S is in Sierra, grommet. T is in Tango, grommet, 1 piece, both 1 pieces. U is in Unicorn, 58 series single female terminal, 2 pieces. V is in Victor, 58 series single female connector, 1 piece. W is in Whiskey. Oh boy, I'd like to drink some right about now. Single female terminal, 2 pieces. Y is in Yankee, large rubber sleeve, 1 piece. BB, NSS, jumper wire for manual transmission. CC is in closed captions, NSS wire for from DAS connection to switch. DD, blower motor wire. Ooh, that's interesting. FF is in Foxtrot, courtesy light wiring extensions. GG is in good game. BU wires from the dash connection to switch. HH is in Helly Hansen, heater switch to the resistance harness, and that is page 4. All right, now we're on page 5, talking about the fuse box bracket harness assembly and mounting instructions. We're going to beat to death every single instruction with pictures, and we're just going to go to town. So let's get started. Number 1, prior to installing the dash harness into the car, be sure you have installed all the fuses into the fuse box like I said earlier. See fuse panel mounting instructions 929722201 and items 1 and 2 on this page for detailed installation instructions on the mounting and fuse panel assembly. Route the harness in pics 1 through 6 and items 3 through 12 on this page. Let's go and look at this picture right here, number 1. Mount the loaded fuse box assembly in the same general location as the original and as shown above using screws and nuts and washers J, H, and K found in the loose piece kit 510472. Route the harness up through the existing loop clamp along the side of the wiper, motor, and bracket assembly. Number 2, mount relay bank to wiper motor support bracket, then plug in the relay. See number 2 at the right. Template 929722156 for details. This picture number 2, using the relay bank mounting template instruction sheet 929722156. Drill 2 new holes, 0.125 the mounting holes into the windshield wiper motor bracket, and attach the relay bank to the bracket as described on the instruction set shown above. Now, I don't know what they're talking about, template 929722156, but I'm sure when I open box it, I'll be able to find that template. All right, number 3, plug in the white wiper feed wire from the AAW dash harness into the new 510131 wiper harness as shown on pages 6 through 22 of this instruction set. The wiper switch connector will plug into the wiper switch when you install the cluster assembly into the dash. The wiper motor connector will plug into the motor assembly. Washer leads will plug into the coordinator. Now, if you go back to the first bag G, you'll see the wiper feed connection in that bag. And if you now go to page 6 for the big illustration on there, you'll see on the top left side, it says a note with an arrow on it. Your new AAW dash harness includes white 12-volt power feed wire, the wiper feed, that will plug into your new 510131 wiper and washer harness. See page 22 for more detailed wiper washer harness information. And if you jump to page 22, you'll see right here with this red note, plug in the AAW white wiper feed wire from page 6 in here. And this is the 510131 wiper and washer harness. That's where you plug in the wiper feed to right there. Now we're looking at illustration 3. I'm not sure if it corresponds to number 3 on this page, but we're going to assume it does. With the cluster and original wiring removed, route the new dash harness away from the firewall and through the opening between the wiper motor bracket and the steering column, then down across the bottom of your dash through the provided clips N, which you'll see N on page 4, in case your originals are missing or damaged. Mine are gone. And above your steering column as shown above. All right, this is a bit complicated, so pay attention. Number 4, plug ignition switch 510128 into harness connector. Attach ground wire into ring terminal to the threaded stud. Plug tan wire into the ground blade of ignition switch and install completed assembly into your dash. See switch instructions. I'll get to that in a second. Plug in your cigar lighter connection. Plug HL switch 510054 into harness connector and install install on your dash. Again, see switch instructions. Now, I don't know this because I haven't open boxed this, but it'll say here, see detailed ignition switch connections on the 510053 ignition switch instruction set of page 6. You'll see that right there, the ignition switch, how it plugs into the dash right there where the keys go in. But that's the note. So we're going to have to wait till we open box to see that. So now we're on instruction number 5, which corresponds to illustration 4 and 5. You'll see here in a second. Route the front light, engine and dimmer switch connections back around the fresh air vent as shown on illustrations 4 and 5 below so that they are at the pass-through opening in the firewall. Then route the dimmer switch connection down to the floor area and attach to the dimmer switch 500042. Secure dimmer switch to the tow bar floor. Plug in front light wiring 510465 and the engine wiring 510466. After installing firewall grommet T, you'll see T above, in the pass-through opening in the firewall, route the engine and front light wires out into the engine bay. See pages 16, 17, 18, 19 for installation details. Let's all go there. All right, it's at this point which you're going to have to take the illustrations of page 16, 17, 18, and 19, and you're going to have to match them up with the physical parts that you're holding in your hands. If you're reading this, it's too difficult to keep track of all these parts just verbatim. I've already lost track of everything, but don't worry, I will show you everything physically on the next video when I do this. But if you're still looking at those illustrations, or if you want to see the illustrations on my page, I'll show them right here and you can just pause them, but we have to keep on moving. Drop the rear body harness lead and left-hand door jamb switch wires down the side of the left-hand door hinge pillar as shown in number 6. I'll show you that in here in a second. Make left-hand door switch and courtesy lamp connections, see 6 and 9 for details. Plug in your rear body harness 501462, then route the wires along the door sill back to the trunk area, see pages 21 and 2021. So right here on the illustrations, your left hand, number 6, the left hand door jamb switch wires and rear body harness leads route through the opening in the top of the left hand door pillar area. The door jamb switch wires route out to the door jamb switch opening and will plug into the provided door jamb switches. Page 9, which I'll go to here in a second. Similar operation for the right hand side wires. The rear body harness 510462 will plug into the dash lead down inside the left hand door pillar as shown above. So let's head over to page 9 to see if it shows. Oh yes, okay, perfect. So it's basically showing you how the door jamb switch connections, even the courtesy light wiring, but the door jamb switch connections, how they plug in. Simple. Number 7, plug brake switch connection onto your existing brake lights. See page 6. Number 8, assemble the NSS and BU switch extensions items BBCCGG from page 4 and plug them into the dash harness connection. See pages 6 and 10 for detailed instructions. Head over to page 7. You'll see right there NSS and BU light connection. This is easier said than done right here. You'll see page 10 talks about how these are going to be wired. All right, number 9, plug in your steering column connections. See page 6 and 8 for detailed instructions. Heading over to page 8, we have the steering column, whatever page is 2. Yeah, we have for the turn signal switch wiring on page 8, both sides of the top, left and right. Number 10, build your gauge cluster harness, then plug in the finished assembly to the dash harness connection shown on page 6. Pages 11 through 15 for the details on building your cluster harness. Please note there are several different variations of choices, so be sure you have picked the proper choice for your car's application. You know what? I think I have an idea, but like I said, I have to see this in hand. I can head over to pages 11 through 15 right now, but until I actually get it in hand and showing tack, and I have some stuff that have been removed, like the ammeter is now an oil pressure. So number 11, build your stock heater connections. Note the installation firewall grommet S from page 4. So see 10 for details. I hate to say it, but I'm not going to be connecting mine because I'm going to be doing a full-fledged aftermarket separate system while keeping the stock system in place. Number 12, pass remaining harness over along past the radio and heater controls to the right-hand side of the car. Make the radio console glove box, right-hand door switch, and courtesy lamp connections as necessary. Attach instrument cluster, ground wire to the metal dash assembly. See pages 7 and 9 for details. Here's page 7. Just pause it right here if you want to see how things are connected. All right, now we're just going to go through each page because we got page dash harness installation instructions. Basically, it shows what's behind the steering wheel. After that, we have the dash main harness installation instructions for page 7, which talks about the fuse box, how that's behind the radio, and how we're mounting the relay bank to the wiper motor support bracket underneath the dash. Right there, you can see that. Moving on to page 8 and how we're building the turn signals for the steering cluster. We have the fog switch wiring, page 8. We have the accessory connector wiring for page 9. This gets into the weed of things, so you're going to have to refer back to this as you're on that instruction from the earlier pages. Now we're heading over to page 10. This gets even more into the weeds. The neutral safety switch backup switch wiring, which I'm not going to use, so I'm going to have to figure out how to keep that always connected. Automatic trans, not worrying about that. Backup switch. Oh yeah, I have a switch under the car for that I've installed last year. Heating wiring. I'm going to be connecting that to an aftermarket system. Page 11, the gauge cluster harness installation instructions. Shown below are supplied miscellaneous terminals, plastic connector bodies, light sockets, hardware that will be used to complete your gauge cluster harness connections. They are itemized and referred to on this page, just as they are on the following pages of this gauge cluster instruction set. How to install light sockets, the light socket terminals. Oh, I see. Yeah, so we already have those in the car as it sits. Gauge cluster harness installation instructions. We got the brake. Oh, we got speedo, oil, temp. Okay, here we go. Volts, not using that. Actually, you know what? We might use that at a later date. Fuel, got to use that. Speedo, oil, not using that. Temp, yes, using that. And tack, ooh, we're going to have to figure that out. So 3 of those things we're not even going to be using, especially because that was page 12. This is page 13. We have a bunch of different configurations. Gosh, then I'm going to have to head to page 13, 14. Oh my gosh, 2 14s pages. How we're going to rewire the cluster, especially because we might have to put a new tachometer in. Page 16, engine harness installation instructions. This is how we wire that and how we're going to have to build the speed sensor, tack wiring, all of that, all the harnesses for that. Page 17 is how the engine looks as far as the engine harness instructions go. Now we have the front light. So when it comes to page 19, skipping ahead 2 and back to 18, these are the lights from the same engine area, but now it's not engine management, it's just lights. Now we have the rear of the car, page 20, rear body harness installation instructions, and that'll be reverse light, indicators. What else do they have? They should have fuel in here. I can't find that. Yep, fuel sending unit, reverse lights. Oh, it looks like we have a dome light back here too, so we might have to fish that out. Yeah, that's interesting out in the rear that we're going to have to find. And then we have the wiper switch wiring. On page 22, the wiper harness details note all 67 to 62 two-speed wiper applications use a setup shown at the left. The white wiper feed 93. You know, that's okay. Right? You'll see on the top right there. We're going to have to cover that when we get there. But anyways, step 3, connecting your battery. When you have completed the installation and ready to reconnect your battery, make sure the following electrical systems are in place. Battery is grounded to the engine block. Battery is grounded to the frame. Okay. Engine block is grounded to the frame and the body is grounded to the frame. Oh my God. And then at this point, I'm going to be scared, but we're going to connect all the power and start it up. So let's get started with this.